Teddy Covers coming to us live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Teddy Covers, my man, how are you doing on this Friday morning?
I'm grumpy this morning, man. I had North Carolina last night. I didn't like anything about the way that game ended. How about you?
I'm running hot right now. I've now double-digit profits in double-digit units in both NHL and NBA, and NHL ROI at 18%, NBA ROI at 30%. I feel good, and I feel like it's teamwork that's doing this for me. And I got myself out of a hole, Teddy, a bad hole. Like CFL, NFL combined was down like in the last 2 weeks, like $1,700, and then I lost $500 on the breeders, and I've made that all back in NBA and NHL. And also Max Smart on our late show has been crushing it the last 48 hours. So I'm 9-1. They're $100 a pop bets, but 9-1, tailing him the last 10. So I've got myself out of a hole, and now I want to feel the black. I want the black. I got to be in the black. I know the black is coming my way, and I'm very excited. We just broke down NFL, and we always want to hear your looks or what you like the best on Fridays. And I'm not seeing things clearly. I'm getting crushed in NFL. It's ruined my last few months. Other sports are going well, and NFL keeps dragging me down. Teddy, what are the looks on this NFL card that appeal to you the most?
So there are 5 looks on this card that I'm interested in. And let's start with one game where I'm interested in side and total. That would be the Texans plus and the over. I'm involved in both. I think they're correlated. I wouldn't argue if you put them together. I don't know that Houston is going to cover the number unless they're scoring points, because I think Lamar Jackson's going to get his. But boy, I look at this game as a legit shootout. I look at the Texans' defense as being a whole lot better than what Baltimore was able to do last week against Cincinnati. And I look at this point spread range, and it says to me that my powering numbers have these two teams dead even, and the markets don't right now. So I'm interested in taking the number with the Texans, and I think that's going to be a high-scoring game. Lamar and Deshaun, this one has potential to be a lot of fun. So Texans and over have made my NFL card. I took Arizona. I got 11.5. What's it down to now? 10. The injury report for San Francisco is ugly. I mean, that's an ugly-looking report. Coming off their first loss of the season, facing a feisty opponent that's hanging around in every game. Arizona came through the back door against them a couple of weeks ago. Maybe they do it again here. But I liked it a lot better at 11.5 than I do at 10. But that's in my pocket, and I want to let you know everything that's in my pocket right here. On Sunday Night Football, I took the Chicago Bears. Found it 7 early in the week. It's 6 and 6.5 right now. I wouldn't argue with 6.5 on Chicago. The Rams can't be laying. This offense cannot be laying, and that's my handicap. This offense can't be laying this price, period. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I've watched the Rams enough. And this is the Jared Goff game. When Goff faces a good defense, we see what we saw last week, which is the Rams don't score touchdowns. So that's not a team I want to be laying a TD with. And here's the ugly one, and I can't seem to talk myself out of it. When I want to get it, what I really tried when I make a case for betting against the Patriots, I try to talk myself out of it. Over the long term, it hasn't really worked very well for me. But New England's not the right side this week. And when we start to look at the Patriots season, okay, let me just get it here real quick, because New England's worth talking about for a minute, because, their statistical profile is through the roof, and it's the Patriots, and we all know. And boy, Patriots off a loss. What's it, 70% long-term? Patriots off a bye. Huge, so it's really, again, 2 out of 3 long-term. It's not an easy thing to do to step in front of New England this week, and I fully understand if nobody else wants to do that. I'm not a believer in the Patriots right now. I'm really not. And when we talk about who they play, their wins, they beat the Steelers week 1. Pittsburgh's bad game. New England looked great. Okay. Miami, the Jets, the Redskins, the Giants, the Jets. That's 5 bottom feeders. Okay, then we look at the competitive games. They played the Bills. The Bills aren't that good. That was a life and death game. Buffalo was right in that game. Had a chance to beat them. They played the Browns, and they won by 2 touchdowns. You remember the game? Cleveland was right even with them in that game. New England made the plays, and that's what they do sometimes. And I might lose this game because of that. But it wasn't like there was a class difference between the Patriots and the Browns when those two teams were on the same field. And then obviously we saw what happened when they played Baltimore. So they played 3 real teams this year, and they've been tested all 3 times. Philly's a real team coming off a bye, catching 3.5. I'm interested. That's where I'm at in the NFL.
Well, the first 4 looks, the over I find very interesting in the Texans Baltimore, and that hadn't quite registered for me. But Texans, Cardinals, Bears, I got to the window. The only bet I got to the window with was Cardinals plus 11.5. But Bears I want, Texans I want. That the Eagles game scares me, and I almost feel like I'm seeing things so poorly in NFL that nobody wants to hear I'm on the same side as them right now. But I like.
You're gonna mush me, Jimmy? Don't be mushing me, Jimmy. I'm running good in the NFL the last couple of weeks.
I can't help it, man. I can't help it. But I like this. I like this a lot. Texans in the over, Bears plus. What do you think about the under 40 in that Bears-Rams spot?
I'm hesitant to bet that under. I think that we could see defensive scores in this game. Let's just put it that way. I also think that we're going to see coaches going for it on 4th down, which is, you're not what you want when you're betting unders. You want to take the points, take the field goal. That's fine. But these are 2 coaches that are going to go for it on 4th down. So no, it's not an under I'm going to bet. I understand it, but it's not one I'm going to bet.
Let's move into the association. It took me 30 games in NBA to hit double-digit units, but then last night 2-2. Last night was 2-2, and I had the Suns. It was a pretty easy situation for me, and they smashed. And I had the Bulls. I felt comfortable all game. It wasn't too easy by the end of it. And then I doubled up on the Nuggets first quarter, first half, and that gave me a 2-2 night. But I feel like I'm seeing things clearly in the NBA, and I only have one look right now on the Magic -3. That's my only look in NBA right now. Before we talk about my look on Magic -3, I'd like to hear what you've already got to the window with, and then I will start asking more questions about certain games. What have you hammered so far on this NBA card?
The only thing I played was the Pistons. I played the Pistons at 3. That number's already been bet up to 3.5. From Charlotte's not very good. The energy's there. Defensively, they're going to have issues, and they're going to have hot quarters, and they're going to make some runs and all of that. But this is not a good basketball team. The Pistons have 1 game in a week. Okay, they had that weird travel situation the other night down in Florida, where they got in at 5 a.m. after issues. And that was a game, obviously, where Griffin and Rose both sat after playing 1. This is the Pistons game. If you want to, it really is the Pistons game. When you consider the circumstances they've had over the last week, the fact they've lost 3 in a row, this is their opponent, an opponent they can beat. I just think Detroit's a good notch or 2 better, and this is a buy low spot. I thought it was at 3. Obviously, they're taking money now, but the Pistons are better. -3 was very reasonable.
That play makes sense. I've kept my quantity of plays down in NBA, and I'm just not taking road favorites at all.
Makes sense.
Huh? Yeah, when we look over my number, what are the mistakes I make in previous years? And I'm just trying to keep very steadfast. And I'm doing the same thing in NHL, and I broke it in NHL today, but I've been taking no road favorites in either sport at this time. I'm very interested in possibly taking the Grizzlies plus the points against the Jazz. I feel like the Jazz just pick and choose when they want to take over a game. My issue with this spot is what happens with Conley going back to Memphis. Who do you see stepping up with Conley coming back to Memphis for the first time? How do you plan, or how would you attack this Jazz-Grizzlies game? Let me see if we still have 7.5s right now, just going back to, and Jazz-Grizzlies. Yeah, we're still sitting at 7.5. This total's dropped from 216.5 to 214.5. What do you think of being my interest in the Grizzlies plus 7.5 at home?
That's the only way I would look. I certainly would not try to talk you out of that look. And it's not a day where I love the card, but give me a free bet on that game, and I'm on Memphis for 2 reasons. One, you asked where the benefit comes with Conley going back. I think it goes to his former teammates. I really does, as opposed to the guys, the new team. So Memphis is going to come to play tonight, and the Jazz have some ridiculous-looking early season defensive stats, and that's my biggest concern about this game. Is there's a chance that Utah will just shut them down, and the Grizzlies' young backcourt will struggle against a really strong stop unit. I mean, and the Jazz stats are through the roof, which is why they're taking all this money, why they're being overpriced in a sense. You know, they're not winning games by big margin. They're not built that way necessarily. So I would, and offensively, they're still very much a work in progress with Conley now. You know, I thought it would be smoother at the beginning of the season. It hasn't been. They're still finding their role. So Grizzlies or pass is a clear choice for me. I would not be laying in this spot with Utah.
I'm very close to making a move there on the Grizzlies. And then finally, what do you think of this market move towards the Warriors at home against Boston? Does the 9-game winning streak keep Boston sharp, or is this a letdown spot going across the coast and facing the Warriors?
I don't know that it's a letdown spot for anybody going across and facing the Warriors on national TV. You know, I can only take the Celtics here. And there seems to be some betting market support for Golden State. And when the Warriors are hitting shots, they're going to hang around in games. But again, Golden State, if not the worst team in the NBA, it might be 29, but they're probably 30. And if you've been Kerr's telling us again and again and again, we're not playing any defense. We don't know how to play defense. And their stats show that very clearly, you know. And the last thing I want to do is take a team that can't get stops against a Celtics squad that they're offensively efficient. I'll just put it that way. And Boston, the other thing that happened against the Wizards, I don't know if anyone watched that game on was that Wednesday? I forget if it was Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. But Boston was dominating that game, thoroughly in control, up 16, 4 or 5 minutes to go, and they kind of fell asleep. And the Wiz went on a 12-0 run, and all of a sudden Stevens got to put starters in, and it's a 4-point game, and it's so when you see that one game, one would think with a team like Boston that'll be corrected the next game. So does that make sense? Celtics or pass?
Yeah, and I don't want to get in the way of the Celtics, and you mentioned that last week, and I've just kept that. So great stuff. Okay, Teddy Covers is on the Pistons, and I am very close to pulling the trigger on the Grizzlies, but I am going to sit with it just a tiny bit longer. I know we've already spoken about the NFL, Rafa, but we're going to go back to the NFL for a quick second. I'd be curious to hear this answer as well, although I hear it from Flash at work all the time. I just want to hear your perspective. And Prince of the City, our guy, says, ask Teddy what he sees good in the Eagles. He says, what am I missing living here in Philadelphia? That's from Prince of the City. And I'd be interested. I have futures on the Eagles. I have them at even money to win the division from the beginning of the year. I have them, to win the conference, to win the bowl. What do you think? How would you answer that question for Prince of the City?
I've got futures on Philadelphia too, okay? And my concept is this. I got the Eagles over-season win ticket, and I haven't given up on that yet. Not at all. What do I see good about Philly is take the first half of the season and chuck it. That's what I see good about Philly. I don't believe that what we've seen so far is the best the Eagles have to offer. They've been injured on both sides of the football. I am worried about the skill position talent. I'm worried about the lack of a deep threat. But when we say what team has the potential to play better than they've already played, and significantly better than they've already played, Philadelphia comes to the top of the list for me, or close to it. I think Wentz is good. I think the offensive line is good. I think the running game's good. I know the defensive line is good. I understand the secondary's had their fair share of issues, but if you're getting pressure on the quarterback, that solves some of those problems. But more than any other factor, I'm trying to be proactive, not reactive. I think the Eagles will play better over the back half of the season than they did over the front half of the season. But more than anything, I just don't think the Patriots are that dominant. I think their statistical profile does not reflect accurately how good the team is. New England's good. They may be very good. Their stats are off the chart, and that's why they're laying 3.5 here.
That was a great answer. I enjoyed that immensely. Okay, let's move over to college football. Before we break down the looks that Teddy's on from earlier in the week, and we see one game here that he's on already, and we'll get to that game secondly. First off, though, let's talk Louisiana Tech Marshall. Yenny Toon says, ask Teddy about Louisiana Tech Marshall tonight. Why is Louisiana Tech a 6.5-point dog? And then he says, I like Louisiana Tech. Marshall opening up -2.5. And now, as Yenny said, 6.5. This total opened up at 56 and can be got at 55 at Pinnacle or 53.5 at Bet Online. Teddy, this is an interesting game. La Tech Marshall.
I mean, La Tech's got guys suspended. Their quarterback, Jamar Smith, is suspended for tonight. The receiver, Adrian Hardy, suspended. That's what that line move is all about. Big issues for the road team in that regard. So I can understand the Marshall money.
Do you agree with that 6.5 now? Do you think that this is a spot where Marshall runs all over them at home?
I have zero feel, and I didn't get a sense for exactly what happened, that the guys got suspended. It wasn't a game that I was putting a whole lot of time into. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but there's clearly something going on behind the scenes at Louisiana Tech. And that's worth investigating if you're going to make a wager on this one.
All right. Sorry, Viper NB in the house saying, how'd you do yesterday? Yesterday was a nice day. 3-2 in NHL, but one was a plus 150, 140. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I also hit that over in Dallas at plus 125, over 5.5, or in Vancouver, Dallas, Vancouver. So it was a great day. 2-2 in NBA, and then 2-0 in NCAA. But 2-0 my bets, 3-0 with my official plays. Okay, let's keep rolling here. Do you feel more comfortable now that San Diego State is back the favorite again at home against Fresno State?
Yeah, I'm holding my Aztecs weight. I was reading around, and I found nothing that says that there's something wrong with San Diego State. What I found was a lot of opinion that Fresno's about to make a run. I played the Aztecs, and I'm holding it, and I got a good number with it, and it's all good with San Diego State. I'll take my shot with Rocky Long squad tonight.
And what do you think about this total here? This total opened up at 44.5. It's down to 43 at Pinnacle, 43.5 at all the other shops.
I'm not betting a whole lot of San Diego State games over. If you're trying to get the San Diego State games over, you're going to be struggling. But when we start talking about these lower totals in college football and the NFL both, I mean, all it takes is one cheap score or one defensive score or one special teams play or something funky, and all of a sudden you're sweating. And I mean, I didn't get involved. I mean, an under makes sense in this game. If Fresno gets in the 20s, my San Diego State's not looking in great shape for tonight. But on the other hand, Agnew's okay. Agnew can chuck the football around a little bit. And all year we're saying, San Diego State, one of these days they're going to explode, and it hasn't happened yet. Maybe it's just that's the way Rocky Long's teams are. But Fresno's defense isn't that good. San Diego State has, in my mind, a pretty big defensive edge in this ball game. And that, what that does with the total, I don't know. Maybe San Diego State does get something going offensively. They're certainly due to, but they've been due for about 10 years to get going offensively into Rocky Long, and it just hasn't happened all that often.
All right, I am copying and pasting questions coming in. We're going to go over Teddy's card from earlier in the week in a second. I know the answer to this, so we don't need to be long on this, but Paul Costa saying, hey, Jimmy, please ask Teddy's opinion on buying half points and paying a little extra juice to avoid hooks. Worth it or not for the bankroll sake? And you've answered this question before, but could you touch on it briefly once more?
Yeah, of course. I mean, anyone that's talking about buying half points, my advice would be open up another sportsbook account. Sportsbook Review has all these reviews of all these different sportsbooks. They all have bonuses. You can get involved. If you have $100 to bet, find 2 accounts and bet for $50. Better yet, find 4 accounts and deposit $25 in each one. Buying half points, if you're betting properly, if you have the ability to access multiple lines, you rarely have to buy half points. And from a value standpoint, when you're paying 10 cents to get your 5.5 down to 5. I don't know of a professional, but once in a while I see guys buying 6.5s up to 6, up to 7. That's the half points around the 3s. You're paying 25 cents. I mean, the price is enormous to buy the half points around 3s. I don't do it. I look for the line, and if you have access, if you're line shopping from when they open on Sunday till when they get there on Saturday, you're not going to be missing the half points, and you're not going to have to buy them.
I agree. Well put. I agree. Well put. Okay, let's take a quick look at what Teddy jumped on throughout the week. And I was not here yesterday, so we'll keep going through. Indiana, we've got San Diego State that's going tonight. I'm talking about games for Saturday. Indiana plus 14.5. Minnesota plus 3, a spot that he doubled up on. Central Michigan plus 3. Then you added Texas plus 7. On Wednesday, you added UMass plus 40.5. Have you got to the window on anything yesterday or, since we spoke on Wednesday?
Did you bring up Indiana?
Yes, Indiana plus 14.5 from Monday, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So I played, we talk about Wyoming and Cal yet?
No, because as of Wednesday, you were waiting to see if you were going to get the 7s for either Wyoming or Cal.
Okay, I'm not getting 7s with either one. I didn't get 7s with either one. And Wyoming, so I took the plus 6.5 when it went back, when it started going down, and I was reading some stuff this morning. I may well buy back Utah State in that game. That's not a strong opinion for me anymore. The Cal I like. And the Cal at 6.5 is in pocket now. I didn't find a 7. I don't think we're going to see a 7. There's a decent chance that we could see Chase Gabers back this week. And I don't know that Wilcox is going to say anything before kickoff. But Cal to me was that 6.5 was worthy of a wager. We talked about Texas, right? At plus 7. That's an auto bet. Much like Central Michigan's an auto bet for me. UMass. We talked about UMass, right?
Yep.
At 40.5, and that's I held my nose and played it. Did we talk about UCLA?
No.
That's another one that I held my nose and play. At plus 21.5 at UCLA.
Oh wow.
At Utah, I should say. And I feel like I've gotten my teeth kicked in betting against Utah a couple times this season, but 21.5 I thought was too much. UCLA's got a buy sign for me. So that's one I'm involved with. And I found a rogue 13.5 with the Cincinnati Bearcats. At 14, I don't know. I was leaning Cincinnati, and there was 113.5. I'm like, all right, I'll bet this one. That's betting number 327 at South Florida. At 14, I certainly wouldn't talk you out of it, but that was one where I'm like, yeah, let's grab this. I'm not a USF fan, and I think that if Cincy can run the football against that defense, it could get ugly.
All right, Cincy minus 13.5. Okay, beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, and yeah, Paul Costa is right. Ronnie Christie asking about Teddy's NBA looks. He's on the Pistons. Okay, I love it. There are his looks. We have questions coming in. Feel free to start firing them at us, and we will get to them. The first one is from Suze387. Suze387. I'm sorry, I got to move over to spreads and totals. Suze from over in Hawaii, always wanting to know what's going on with that squad. Says, can you ask Teddy about Hawaii versus UNLV? Says, I think the new quarterback will tear up the Rebels. Here. And I don't have it in front of me. I'm trying to find it here. Rotation number quickly. I can't. There we go.
It's at the end. 390. It's like 391.
Yeah,
I think
391, 392.
Yeah, it's Friday, dude. Don't worry about it. Monday, you got to work me with the rotation numbers. Friday, I know where they are on the schedule, so I can find my notes quicker.
Oh, I love it. All right, Hawaii, UNLV. Hawaii opening up at minus 6.5. There's still 6.5. 7's everywhere else. This total opened up at 71. It's up to 73.5 for 74. Do you think the new quarterback for Hawaii tears up the Rebels?
So Hawaii's last 5 games, 59-37. 56-26, 45-31, 41-38, 42-40. They're not stopping anyone, and they're scoring against everyone. UNLV, okay, and all those games go over the total. Every one of them goes over the total. Last week got over 77. UNLV, okay, defensively, they're not going to stop a good passing game. Not going to happen. Fresno lit them up. Boise lit them up. Wyoming ran the ball down their throat. Arkansas State lit them up. UNLV's defense is bottom tier. But against Hawaii's defense, we've seen a couple of times this year the Rebels move the football effectively, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do here. Coming off a bye, Sanchez isn't going to make it through the year. They know that. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Rebels give effort in this game, and I would expect another high-scoring Hawaii game. I'm looking at this one to go over the total.
Over the total. Okay. Questions are coming in right now. The first one here from Christian Walsh, wants to know about this Louisville NC State spot. Louisville NC State, and I'm going to be grabbing it as missing yesterday. I don't remember where all of these games are.
333, 334.
Oh, perfect. Here we go. 333, 334. I have Missouri State, Illinois State. But regardless, what do you think about this spot, Louisville NC State, Teddy?
You're looking at college hoops, buddy.
No, I'm on NCAA football.
Missouri State at 333, 334? Not a board team.
Yeah, unless there's something wrong here with the odds page here at Sports Review, 333, 334. Missouri State. Yeah, but whatever. That's what I've got here in front of me. I'll refresh it. What do you think of this spot here with Louisville?
So I don't know anyone that likes NC State this week. Not one person have I talked to who's like, yeah, I can make a case for NC State. And that always concerns me when it's all one-way action. I mean, from an offensive standpoint, there's no comparison between these two teams. All that being said, Louisville's banged up at the QB position. The Wolfpack, after facing, it's been ugly against BC and Wake and Clemson, where the defense has been gashed in every one of those games and the offense hasn't been able to keep them competitive. And yet the number feels short, doesn't it? It feels short for this one. I'll just leave it at this. It doesn't smell right. And I understand the case for Louisville. And I don't trust Louisville's defense in order to cover this number. So lean Cardinals, but it's not one that I'm going to bet.
Next question.
And you know what I mean by it doesn't smell right? Jimmy, does that make sense?
Oh, it does.
It sometimes the number is like, all right, it just doesn't smell right. I don't know how, it's like, yeah, why didn't this open 7.5,
Oh, absolutely. And those are just stay away spots for me as well. The next question Christian asking about is 381, 382, 10th ranked Oklahoma, 12th ranked Baylor. Oklahoma opening up at -9, now up to 11 at a couple books, and this total stuck at 67.5. Oklahoma, Baylor, Teddy.
I can only take Baylor. And I haven't pulled the trigger, but I can only take Baylor. It's not like the markets have been giving Baylor any respect all year long. Not like they're getting any respect this week. They're certainly not going to trade points with Oklahoma, but defensively, maybe good enough to get some stops. Now, it's a little bit scary because the Sooners, what they were able to do against Iowa State's got a good defense. And Oklahoma lit them up last week, and I haven't seen anyone really stop this team. So that is a concern for me. But the only way I could play it is take the undefeated team at home. And that, when you look at the long-term trends, it's a very profitable subset that Baylor is in this week, even off a wild triple OT game. I can only look at the Bears. I haven't played it, but that's the only way I could look.
Joe Kim says, Notre Dame saying their sellout streak will stop this season. Will Navy win with the Notre Dame fan base not interested and Navy off a bye? Notre Dame opened up at -10. It's down to 7s in most of these books. What do you think of what Joe Kim's asking?
So I'm not convinced that a sellout streak, it's not like the stadium's going to be empty. It's not like the Notre Dame fans aren't showing up. It's not like the students aren't showing up. It's not like the atmosphere is not going to be rowdy. It's not any of that stuff. They just didn't sell every single ticket, which isn't necessarily good news for Brian Kelly's long-term job security, but it is what it is. I don't look at the sellout streak ending as having any effect. That to me is superfluous information. It's not going to help you handicap. The market's all over Navy. Obviously, they bet Navy way down, and it's something of an awkward matchup for the Fighting Irish, a Fighting Irish team that prior to last week's game against Duke had been in a little bit of a funk. Certainly, if Navy does what they want to do in this game, they're going to shorten the game. They're going to keep Notre Dame's defense on the field and keep Ian Book on the sideline. And that's, how the Middies have hung tough against the Irish when they've hung tough in years past. It's not anything that I played. It's not anything I'm going to play. I can certainly understand the early week Navy money at 7. I'm not convinced that the Middies are that close to the Irish. But, know this, the money that's come on Navy is sharp money. So if you're stepping in front of the Middies, you are stepping in front of some of the better bettors that are out there.
Next question is from our guy, Datfire TV. Says, can you ask Teddy about Clemson first half against Wake Forest? If you want Clemson first half, 20.5 is the best you can get. That's heavily juiced at Pinnacle. 21.5s are what most of the shops are selling. What do you think about backing Clemson first half against Wake Forest?
I don't have a strong take on this game at all. I'm not in a rush to step in front of Clemson, but it seems like a lot of points to give Wake off of, they played a bad game against Virginia Tech. Teams get a bad game. Wake's been pretty good, and it's a funky game, and I'm really interested in watching this one because I don't know if Wake's offense is going to work against this defense. But if they can get something going, that makes the first half on Clemson a little bit difficult. So I know the Tigers have been rolling in recent first halves. They come out of the gate, taking no prisoners, and BC and Louis. I mean, really, since their bye, 5 straight wins and 4-1 ATS, and they've come out early and smack teams. And if you're riding that, I'd ride it again. I haven't been riding that, and I can see a scenario in which Wake hangs around here at least for a little while. So it's not one that I'm going to bet.
Next question comes to us from Joe Kim. Joe Kim talking about this spot here, rotation number 403, 404, Stanford, Washington State. Washington State opening up at -10, now 10.5 at Pinnacle, 11s everywhere else. His total going from 62 up to 63, 63.5 for 64. Joe Kim says, Teddy, Washington State versus Stanford, no Costello, lay points with Wazoo -11?
Nah, you could. Washington State isn't good, okay? This team's in last place in the Pac-12 North. They have the nation's leading passer, and they're in last place. All right, they've lost 2 straight. They've lost 5 out of 6, and it's a get-right spot. And maybe they get right here against Stanford. Stanford's pretty rough, but it's hard for me to lay double digits with Washington State right now. But if I had to play the game, that's the way I would play it, because I know I don't want to. When you're losing to Colorado and scoring 13 points against Colorado, and you got to go the next week and on the road, I mean, it's, Stanford's season has been a disaster. That's not sugarcoated. It's been bad. They're not, and they didn't sell. They didn't sell out on opening day against Northwestern. They were struggling to sell tickets. They were struggling to sell season tickets, and that was a situation that I was tipped off to on August. And it's like, okay. I felt that was very meaningful, where the Stanford support that had been there isn't there, and the team's played out that way. That's a bad football team. I don't want them. So I guess it's Wazoo or pass, but I'm not excited about laying doubles with Wazoo these days. Pass.
And next up, Farshad Assami wants to talk about the marquee games on the slate. One of them being Michigan State, Michigan opening up at -14.5. Now 13.5s are on the board, some 14s. This total opened up at 44.5. It's still there. Some books are up to 45. Big spot here, Michigan State versus 14th ranked Michigan. You have an edge?
Well, I mean, when the Workie played the Wolverines defense last year, it was 5 of 25. The Spartans didn't have 100 yards of offense for the entire game. And Michigan State's offense this year is every bit as bad as last year. They just lost their leading receiver. He's out for the year. It's hard for me to picture Sparty putting up points in bunches in this one. It really is. The last time Michigan beat Michigan State by more than 2 touchdowns was 2002. You know what I mean? So you're getting into a point spread range for the Wolverines in a rivalry game that, Michigan hasn't been there, and the program hasn't been there for more than 15 years. So you're taking a leap of faith if you want to lay with the Wolverines here, in a meaningful rivalry. And for all the disappointments that Michigan State had last week, and for all the disasters, they lost the game by what? 1 score. So They lose this game by 1 score. The cash underdog tickets. Not a game I'm going to bet. Slight lean to the under in this one. I don't see either of these two offenses marching up and down the field.
Next spot, Georgia, Auburn. Farshad asking about Georgia opening up at -2.5. Now threes across the board. This total's dropped from 44 down to 41. Georgia, Auburn, Teddy.
So this is one I flipped on. And when I flip, I don't bet. My initial reaction was, hey, Georgia's cheap. And the more I looked at it, the more I thought about it. And the more when you examine Georgia's season closely, you see a lot of underachieving. You see a defense that's really good, but you also see an offense that's supposed to be really good that hasn't been. And you blame the line, you blame the play calling, you blame the quarterback, call it what it is. Georgia's offense has underachieved. Now they're going on the road. They're facing an elite defense that's loaded in the trenches. You're going to have to make plays. I haven't seen Georgia do that much. And when when we talk about the Frosh QB and, against the Bulldogs defense, yeah, it's a problem. Nix hasn't played great against the better defenses that he's faced. This time he's coming in with extra time to repair. And when you're talking about Frosh QBs in November, they're sophomore QBs now. They are. The experience level has been there. I wouldn't be surprised if Tigers hang around him and give Georgia all kinds of trouble in this game. Hard game for me. Again, and my first lean was towards the road favorite. The more I thought about it, I like the home dog. And when I flip, I unless the case is super strong and I'm like, oh my God, I was an idiot, and this info here and there's info there. This is just my opinions. As the more I thought about the game, the less I like the road favorite. Georgia's been something of a disappointment. Auburn, not so much. Lean Tigers.
And Teddy, before we put a bow on this show, we'll finish it up with Alexander Lopez saying, does Teddy have any futures for the NCAA football championship?
I don't. And honestly, I guess for college football, you can make a case at the beginning of the season to get some long shots. But, I didn't bet LSU early. I didn't bet Ohio State early. And those were the only two that were probably worth betting. But the odds to win it all, I very rarely get involved with that. There are too many variables, and you don't get true value for your money. The best score I ever had in the playoffs was when Ohio State, with Cardell Jones, went bang bang and won back-to-backs. And instead of playing Ohio State to win it all, I just played them on the money line, and then I rolled it over and I played them on the money line again, and I won more than I would have the other way around. So I would, if you like a long shot, I would encourage you to do it that way, as opposed to trying to ask him to win it all, where you're letting the books take a nice chunk of what you're supposed to be earning.
I love it. Teddy covers another week in the books here. Teddy cover on San Diego State -1.5, Indiana +14.5, Minnesota +3. That was a bet that he went back and hammered again. So he hammered that one twice. Central Michigan +3, Cal +6.5, Texas +7, UCLA +21.5, and Cincy -13.5 in the association. He's on the Detroit Pistons. It is a great treat to have you on the show all through the week, Teddy, hearing how you break down games and just how you cap, having all these questions come in from the chat. Just love every second of it. Thank you so much for joining us, sharing your hard work and insights with us. Follow Teddy. Everybody out there who doesn't follow Teddy, please follow him now. Teddy_covers on Twitter. He's a great follow, very active. Teddy, my friend, thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend, and let's come back here Monday feeling good about ourselves.
I would like that very much, Jimmy. And I'll tell you what. I've done a lot of shows over the years. I have. I've been doing this for a long time. I've never done a show quite like this one, where the audience participation and the chat participation is the key element of the show. Love it, low baggers. Keep it up, guys. Good luck this weekend.
Oh, there he is. Teddy covers. Catch him here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday mornings. And I enjoy that segment immensely as well. I love hearing him off the cuff, answering all the questions. I find it very exciting, whether it be actual angles on a game or whether it be gambling philosophies. I find it all very, very, very enjoyable. Hearing his looks from Monday and breaking them down throughout the week and seeing what he's going to the window on. I love every second of it.